What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode on the Lunchtablesports Sports Podcast. It's been a pretty crazy week. Draft week was behind us. It was a very eventful draft. In this episode, I'm going to be breaking down kind of each team's draft haul and where I'd kind of grade them and put them on a grade scale based off what my opinion is. I'm doing this on tiermaker.com, so I'm going to kind of separate these teams into tiers based on how well I think their draft went. In this top tier, I got the beyond excellent tier, which is kind of my 8+ tier. Teams that outdid themselves, kind of outdid what the general mold kind of fit for them, and kind of some shockers in a good way. The excellent tier is kind of your A tier. They did everything right, and they ended and overall improved their team going forward. Great is your A- to B+ kind of scale. I would grade that as no really big flaws in that draft. Just overall solid draft, like a good draft. Every pick was where the player was supposed to be, not really reaching for guys. Your solid draft is you got a good draft. Your B to B- grade. You got maybe you reach for a couple of players, but in the end, you didn't really get better as a team, but you didn't really get worse. Your average is maybe a few reaches here and there, but in the end, you didn't do something too out of hand. And your below average is, teams that just got worse in this draft. Kind of shot themselves in the foot. So there's a few teams. The Knicks, I'm just going to put that out there, the Knicks. But without further ado, let's get into the first kind of overall pick. At the Magic, in my opinion, they had a great draft. I mean, they got Paolo Banchero. Yeah, he was number 3 or 4 on my big board. That kind of changed. He was originally 4. I moved him up to 3, my big board. But all in all, that first top 3, I don't really think you could have gone wrong with any of those 3 players. I think they all kind of fit with the Orlando Magic are looking for going forward. That power forward. He's an amazing scorer, Paolo is. And they got Caleb Houston in the second round. High upside shooter out of Michigan. So all in all, I think they had a great draft. Didn't do anything wrong in that one overall. Next up, we got the Oklahoma City Thunder, and I thought that they had a great draft as well. I'm not going to put them in the excellent tier just because I thought they reached a little too high for Ousmane Dieng, and Jalen Williams. But all in all, they weren't really bad picks. Chet Holmgren, I liked a lot. He was my number 2 player in the draft. They got Zhang, who's projects to be a good defender in the NBA. They got Jalen Williams, who's just a really solid role player in the NBA. And then they got another Jalen Williams, a center out of Arkansas, high upside pick in the second round. So all in all, I thought they had a great draft. Didn't do any terrible decisions, in my opinion. Next up, we got the Houston Rockets, and I thought their draft was beyond excellent. They got my number 1 player in the draft at pick 3 in Jabari Smith. Jabari Smith, I think, fits this team really more than any other prospect does for the Rockets going forward. Jabari Smith adds a ton of shooting to that team, adds youth to that already young core. And they were able to get Tari Eason, one of the top defenders in the draft later on, who was a 6-man at LSU and thrived in that role. Maybe he can kind of do the same role for Houston. And then they go out and pick 29, and they acquire Ty Washington, point guard from Kentucky. I am extremely high on Ty Washington. I have him as a lottery prospect in my eyes. And to get him at pick 29, along with the other 2 players, is absolute steal of a draft. I absolutely love this Houston Rockets draft. One of my top 2 favorite drafts. Next year, we got the Sacramento Kings, and I'm going to give him an average draft. Actually, no, I'm going to bump it up. I'm going to solid drafts. In terms of the actual prospects, Keegan Murray, drafted over Jaden Ivey. I really did not like that for the Kings. Obviously, I'm a Pistons fan. If you've been a fan of the channel for a while, I love my Pistons. So I was ecstatic when we got Ivy. I'll jump into that in a little bit here. But Keegan Murray as a prospect overall, when you're not looking at the big boards, he's a really good player. He's going to be a good NBA player. We know that. We know he has a high floor, maybe a little bit of a limited ceiling, but he'll be a good scorer in the NBA. I thought Ivy was better than him. And then the draft, you just go best player available, where in my opinion, Murray was not the best player available. They didn't have any other picks than Murray. I think this warrants them a solid draft. If they took Ivy, I think that bumps up a couple of tiers. But overall, it was a solid pick. Next up, we got the Pistons. And I am thrilled with what my Pistons did. I thought they had a beyond excellent draft. To get my number 3 player in the draft, Jaden Ivey, at pick 5 without having to give up any assets, is absolutely tremendous. He can pair up excellent with Cade in the backcourt. And then they go ahead and give up absolutely pretty much Jeremy Grant for Jalen Duren. They get that first round pick they acquired in the Jeremy Grant deal in a 3-team trade. They shipped that to the Knicks, and the Knicks were able to offload Kemba Walker's contract in the Pistons, which it's only $9 million. I didn't think it was too bad for the Pistons. They're going to still have a ton of money in free agency while they send a first round pick to the Charlotte. I'll absolutely love that move for the Pistons. Barely give up anything to acquire Jalen Duren, who in my opinion is a top 12 prospect in the draft. And you get even more youthful to that core. I mean, they got one of the youngest cores in the NBA. We saw in that Bagley trade at the trade deadline, Cade kind of thrived with that lob threat. And then if you're getting Jalen Duren, who's one of the best lob threats in the draft, I think Cade will definitely appreciate that, and his game will soar along with Jalen Duren, adding a bunch of defense. Matchup with Stu. Absolutely love that for my Pistons. Moving on here, we got the Indiana Pacers. I thought they had an excellent draft. Really no flaws whatsoever in their drafts. They didn't really exceed expectations. That's why I don't have them in the beyond excellent tier. But they got Benedict Mathurin at pick 6. He was my number 5 player in the draft. Really love Benedict Mathurin for this team. I think he'll be that future backcourt partner with Tyrese Halliburton for years to come. Definitely they're definitely going to move on from Malcolm Brogdon this offseason. So I think you got that Halliburton and Benedict Mathurin backcourt, along with Durate shooting, Isaiah Jackson, high energy guy, Jalen Smith, high upside guy. And then in the second round, you go ahead and get Andrew Nembhard, who I actually like a ton. I think he's going to project to be a very good backup point guard in the NBA. So I think getting him in the top of the second round is great value. And then you also go out and get Kendall Brown from Baylor in the 40s. I thought that was a tremendous pick in the second round. You're drafting high upside guys, and that's exactly what Kendall Brown was. So although I really like the Indiana Pacers draft. Next up, we got the Portland Trailblazers, who I thought they had a great draft. Shaedon Sharpe was my number 7 player on my big board. They got him at pick 7. I'm just going to pull up their draft here really quick and see if they got any second round picks I'm forgetting about. And yes, they did take Jabari Walker from Colorado State. I think he's a pretty underrated guy. People don't give him enough credit. High energy, high defender guy. So that's exactly what you take in the back of the second round. So all I thought they had a great draft. I love Shaedon Sharpe a ton. Next up, you got the New Orleans Pelicans. And I thought the Pelicans had an excellent draft. They got Dyson Daniels at pick 8. He was my number 8 player on my big board as well. So that's good value there. I really like that they're adding a guard. Amazing defense, can kind of be that floor general for the team. Whether or not he's going to play point guard, shooter guard, he's going to distribute it for the team, kind of pass it around, get it in the hands of McCollum, Zion, Ingram, playing excellent defense. He can come and step in as a guard from day one. I don't know if they'll have that. Maybe he'll come off the bench for a little bit, but he can step in and guard 1 through 4 from day one. And they go ahead and get EJ Liddell in the second round. Absolutely love that. He's a top 30 player in the draft for me. And they get him in the second round. It's tremendous value. So I really like the Pelicans draft. Next up here, we got the San Antonio Spurs. And Spurs, again, excellent draft. I know I've kind of been on a roll here with New Orleans. Have an excellent draft. Portland have a great draft. But the Spurs continue that trend. Getting Jeremy Sohan at 9, maybe a bit of a reach. But I don't really think it is a big reach in my opinion. I think he fits exactly what the Spurs want to do going forward. He's a high energy guy, one of the best defenders in the draft. He's going to rebound out of his mind. And then you get Malachi Branham at pick 20, who I thought was a steal of a pick. And then not only that, but you get Blake Wesley at 25 too. That's excellence right there. You got all the guys following you at 20 and 25, high upside guys, and then Sohan at 9. I absolutely love this pick. I think all 3 of these guys could eventually be starters in the NBA. So all in all, I really love that pick for the Spurs. Moving on here for the Wizards. This is where I think they had an average draft. I'm not a huge fan of Johnny Davis. I had him in the lower lottery kind of ranking of my prospects around 13 to 14 range. He's a really good prospect too. Don't get me wrong. He's really gifted offensively. Doesn't have the best 3-point shot. He's going to have to develop one of those in the NBA. Good defender. But they haven't really provided a clear message of what they want to do going forward. Are they going to rebuild? Are they going to try and contend for the playoffs? Today, there's news that Beal doesn't want to resign on a deal. So why are you drafting kind of a project kind of player who plays the exact same position as Beal at pick 10? So I think it was kind of an average draft. They didn't really improve, didn't really get worse from this. But they haven't really shown what they want to do moving forward, which warrants them an average grade. The Knicks is my next grade here. Knicks, yeah, a below average. I don't really know what they're doing here. I think the Pistons fleeced them in that trade for Duren. They pretty much traded pick 11 to offload Kemba Walker's contract. Yeah, they got a couple more firsts, but they also had another chance to acquire Jalen Duren, and they used that as bait for the Pistons to offload Walker's contract. And all this just to make room for what seems like Jalen Brunson. They're trying to pay around 25 million for, which I think he's not. I love Jalen Brunson a lot, but he's not worth $25 million. And that's what the Knicks value him as. So I think they had a poor draft. They definitely blew it in the draft. There's no way I'm trading away Jalen Duren just so I can pay big bucks to Jalen Brunson. So I definitely do not like what the Knicks did in this draft. And I actually kind of feel bad for Knicks fans. They did get Trevor Keels in the second round, which I liked a ton, but that definitely does not compare to what they did with these trades. Next up, we got the Charlotte Hornets. The Hornets, I thought they had a solid draft. I would put them in a tier above, but they did kind of get fleeced by the Pistons, I think, for that 13th pick. They acquired a first-round pick from New York in that deal. I'm not exactly sure what the pick was, but they did acquire a protected pick from that. The Pistons pick from Jeremy Grant ended up going to New York too in that 3-team trade. But they did end up getting Mark Williams at 15, which I thought really fits their team. I like Duren a little bit as a prospect, but I think Mark Williams might have a little better impact on this team, on the Hornets, than Duren might. He's 7'2", shot blocking, loud threat for LaMelo. I think he can be that center for the future. And they get a high upside guy in the second round, Bryce McGowan, who I actually had as a top 30 prospect. I really buy into his offensive potential. So all in all, I think the Hornets had a pretty solid draft other than that Jalen Duren trade. Next up, we got the Cleveland Cavaliers. I thought they had a great draft. Acquiring Ochai Agbaji at pick 14. He's an NBA-ready prospect. I got this pick in my mock draft. Really like this pick, and he come and provide great scoring, great defense off the bench. Probably start some games at the 2 or the 3 going forward. And they acquired Khalifa Diop, a center, high upside guy. Isaiah Mobley. I love that pick. The storylines are amazing. Getting him and Evan Mobley on the same team. Went to college together. They're brothers in the same NBA team. Just one of the heartwarming stories in the draft. But all in all, I think it was a great draft for the Cavs. Next up is Atlanta Hawks. Hawks get an excellent grade for me here. They got AJ Griffin at pick 16, which is just like, I did not expect him to go at 16. I wasn't as high on him as others. I had him right around the 10 to 11 range on my big board, but I didn't think he should have fell out of the lottery. I really like his offensive potential in the NBA. He's not a poor defender by any means. And they got him at 16. And I think he could be in that future for the Hawks, maybe start down the road sometime at the 2 or the 3. So I really like this pick for the Hawks. I thought it was excellent. Next up, we got the Chicago Bulls. I thought they had a solid draft. They acquired Dalen Terry from Arizona at pick 18. He's definitely going to help the team improve going forward. He's a great defender, is a winner at heart. That's one of the big things the scouts have said about him in the draft process. And he can really dish the rock. You don't get worse by playing with this guy. He's always going to make his teammates better. So he's a great team player for a playoff team. Next up, we got the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves, I'm going to give an average grade to. I didn't really love what they did in the draft. They definitely didn't. I don't think they got a ton better in this draft, but I didn't think they got a ton worse in this draft. They got Walker Kessler at pick 22. I didn't really know why they would do this pick. Yeah, he's a great defensive center, but they kind of got Naz Reid and Cat there at center already. I understand that both of them aren't the best defenders, but I thought there's other guys there like Ty Washington that they could have taken. And then take Wendell Moore at pick 26. I do like Wendell Moore a little bit better than other players. So I did like this pick for them. And they got Josh Minot, good defender, Matteo Spagnolo, point guard from Cremona, who I actually like a lot. People don't know about him as much because he's overseas guy, but I actually really like that second round pick for the Timberwolves. All in all, I thought it was a pretty average draft for the T-Wolves. Next up, we got the Denver Nuggets. Nuggets. I'm kind of debating between below average or average, but I think I'm going to stick with the average grade for them. They got Christian Braun at 21, which I thought might have been a slight reach, but not a bad pick by any means. He's going to come in and provide shooting and defense off the bench from day one. At pick 30, they got Peyton Watson. A little too rich for my liking. He only averaged 3 points per game in college, which is the lowest of any first round pick ever. But he's got a crazy athleticism. And that's kind of a pick you would take in the second round, high second round, a mid second round pick, which is what I viewed Watson as. And then in the second round, they got Ismael Kamigante, center from Paris. I absolutely love this guy. I thought he totally should have been a first round pick. He was one defensive player of the year in Paris league. So I really like that pick too in the second round, which I thought might have been a steal. But all in all, I thought it was a pretty average draft. I don't think they got better or worse from this draft. We got the Grizzlies, and I'm going to have to give the Grizzlies a below average grade. I do not like what they did in the second round at all. They traded DeAnthony Melton for David Roddy from Colorado State. I thought it was a really bad trade. I didn't even really like Roddy as a high second round pick even. They got Laravia at 19, which I thought was a big reach too. I'm not that high in Laravia. I kind of view him as a stretch forward, and that's really it in the NBA. And then they got Kennedy Chandler in the second round. I really like Kennedy Chandler. I think he can be their franchise, not their franchise, but backup point guard going forward under John Morant, especially because there's rumors that Tyus Jones isn't going to resign. So I really like the Kennedy Chandler pick. I thought that was their best pick, but I don't really think it makes up for the Roddy pick and Laravia pick, in my opinion. Next up here, we got the Bucks. I thought the Bucks had a solid draft. Marjon Beauchamp. He's a really good defender. He can come in and guard 1 through 4, really, in my opinion. And he can provide solid minutes for a playoff team. I think, that's a solid pick for a playoff team. They also got Hugo Besson in the second round, which I liked a ton too. Point guard from New Zealand Beakers. He struggled a little efficiency-wise last season for New Zealand, but overall, it's kind of the pick you take at the end of the second round. Miami Heat, excellent by my opinion. Excellent pick. Nikola Jovich, he's a top 20 in the NBA player in the NBA draft for me, my big board. So getting him at pick 27 was excellent value, tremendous value. In my opinion, he's one of the best shooters in the draft. So kudos to Miami Heat for getting a steal at 27. We got Golden State here, which I'm going to give a below. I'm going to give him a below average grade. I'm not a big fan of Patrick Baldwin at all, especially for a playoff team like the Warriors. I thought they could have traded this pick, maybe for an NBA veteran who can come in and start right away. But instead, they take Patrick Baldwin, who's going to take a couple of years to develop. And you're not going to need him to play right away. But I thought there was better players on the board, maybe like an EJ Liddell or Ty Washington or Kennedy Chandler, even, who can come in right away and provide solid bench minutes. They got Ryan Rollins, project 2 from Toledo, but overall, then was not a fan of this Warriors draft. Toronto Raptors. I thought the Raptors had a great pick in the second round, and Christian Koloko, I'm pretty high on him too. Big time shot blocker, rebounding center at pick 33. Great value for the Raptors. Lakers had a pretty solid draft. I thought Max Christie was a solid pick. Nothing too special. High upside guy for the Lakers. I think he can actually play. He's not going to play a lot his rookie year, definitely, because they're going to be competing for the playoffs. I think they're going to add some vets who might play over Christie. But long-term development, I really like this pick for the Lakers. And I think if he went back to Michigan State even for a year, we could be talking about this kid as a potential lottery pick. So I thought that was a pretty solid pick for the Lakers. Mavericks for sure get an excellent grade for their pick in the second round. They got Jaden Hardy from the G League Ignite. Excellent. He was high on my big board, have around the 20s range, and him to fall to pick 37 to the Mavericks, tremendous value there. I think he can actually play some quality minutes for the Mavericks. He struggled with inefficiency but this is a guy we're talking about being a potential top 5 pick before the season started. So I really like this pick in the second round for the Mavericks. We got the Clippers. Moussa Diabate, I thought that was a pretty solid move. Nothing too special there. High upside guy, high energy defender for the Clippers. Next up, we got the Celtics, Shady Daverson. Pretty average, nothing too special there. There's other guys on the board I liked over him, but in the end, it's a second round pick. Nothing to look for there. And then Utah Jazz, Nets and Suns didn't really do anything. Sixers, I'm going to put, they had a pretty great trade. They were able to acquire D'Anthony Melton for pretty much David Roddy with the Grizzlies, which was an excellent trade. They really needed a backup point guard. No more playing Shake Milton, who kind of struggled last year. But D'Anthony Melton can provide some quality bench minutes there. And then I'm actually going to throw in the Nets in a below average category because the Kyrie Irving drama happened on draft night. I'm going to kind of put this in the draft category. That whole kind of Kyrie Irving experiment has been a complete failure for the Nets. So it'll be interesting to see where this moves forward for the Nets. But overall, that kind of wraps up the video for today. I had a lot of fun just talking about this draft. I love talking about the NBA draft. So all these draft videos are a ton of fun for me to make. And just let me know in the comments if you have any concerns about my list. If you think a team had better or worse, just let me know in the comments. I'll reply to the comments. I'm big on that. I always like to reply to comments, talk to fellow NBA fans. So really cool. Make sure to like and subscribe if you like these videos. There's going to be a lot more NBA free agency videos coming forward. And see you in the next video.